this. Ready? This is the technique we learned. Now they're sunk.
Nice.
That's the trick.
What
just happened? Some mushrooms again.
What was I supposed to do to that clap?
Oh, you guys can't. Oh, this is so fun. You guys can't hear when I do fun sound effects now.
No, because we don't have that.
I know.
Oh God.
We're missing this headset.
We're gonna be all serious.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on?
I love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Rob, welcome. Woo.
Rob Imbeault.
Wait a second. We got to plug your mic in a little bit here. Let me see here. There. Try that again.
Is back
Oh,
in business.
just jiggle the cable.
There we go. There.
Okay.
Wiggle the cable and things will happen.
Magic
There
happens.
you go.
There it goes, flirting again.
Yeah, flirting again. That's how I got Mark on the podcast.
Jiggle. Full show.
Jiggle the cable. Sold.
Yeah. I'll do anything for you, Mike.
All right.
Seduction. All right. So, welcome. We're obviously not going to have this much seriousness the whole time. I just listened to your audiobook. I just told you offline that I had to keep reminding myself that I was listening to a real life story. And I want to get into your life. It's intriguing,
Okay.
to say the least. First of all, I absolutely love how open and honest you are. You've got 2 bestsellers now. Correct?
Well, one critically acclaimed bestseller, and the other one my mom really liked. So.
Yeah.
It's a coffee table decorator.
Yeah, it was an Amazon bestseller in like a category consisting of my book, I think.
Yeah. Mom's favorites.
Second best Rob Imbeault book ever published.
Yeah, the first one's done well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. And that's the one that I just finished up, and I guess I don't know what the second one is, but I can tell you that the first one is your second one more of your life story. What is that?
Yeah, I really fell in love with the writing. Like I really wanted to be a writer. It just wouldn't make a lot of money. But I wrote novellas in my teenage years. I know I wrote the first one was not really, I didn't intend to write a book. Right. Yeah. Like I wrote as kind of like a therapy. It was an exercise, and like I didn't really intend to share all those things. And when I did write it, and I was brutally honest, as you can tell. Yeah. I was able to be that if I wasn't going to share it. Right. Yeah. So I just said, like, you know what, like, fuck this, all cards on the table, like every single thought, feeling. And I wrote like 200,000 words. It was like a 2/3 of what or 3 times what you read. And there's a lot of stories that I had to hold back.
So I missed out on some of these stories.
I'm actually thinking of releasing two more chapters that I had to cut.
I look forward to those.
I worked closely with a really good editor, and she was fantastic and really called me on a lot of my shit. The censored book. But yeah, once I wrote it and my wife read it, she's like, you know, if you share this, you could probably help a lot of people. And that's when I sought out an editor to make it like an actual real book and reorganize things to make it a bit more compelling and stuff, and change the names of the innocent.
Yes. Yeah.
Bystanders. Strictly bystanders.
Yeah.
Strictly bystanders. Yeah.
Guilty by association, right? So, first book. Tell us first the name and a little bit about it, because I want to get in the book, but I want to get more into talking from the early days of, like I said, chapter 1. I was driving, for those that are listening, I was telling Rob, I was driving on the weekend to a charity event, and I hit play on the audiobook, and I think I got to chapter 2, had to pull off the side of the road. I grabbed a coffee, and I knew right away I was going to be obsessed with listening to this, and and anybody around me can attest. Everywhere I've gone, I've been playing your audiobook.
It's that good.
It is, and I'm not saying that because you're here. I've been telling people they got to hear this. Like, it's powerful. It is, and you know what? Your wife is absolutely right. You're gonna certainly help a lot of people with this book.
Well, first, thank you for the kind words, and it definitely was the intention. And my wife is very much the hero of the book. You're probably at that part.
Yeah.
And I wrote that first chapter years and years and years before I even thought about the book. It's called Before I Leave You, a memoir on suicide, addiction, and healing. I mean, happiness disclaimer, it all works out.
Yeah, you're here.
I am here. I really wanted to write a compelling book that wasn't too heavy. It is heavy, the subject matter is, but like I said, there's a little bit of dark humor in there.
A little bit?
Kind of a lot. I mean, it's a heavy book,
Yeah.
I wanted people to get through it and relate. And, the feedback I've gotten has been extraordinary. Like I've never not responded to an email or a reach out. And like, I have been told that it stopped some suicides, and I'm very proud of that. I'm part of a men's group, and they had read it, and like, to be in the same room when someone looks at you and says, like, you really changed my life was a fucking trip. It's really
awesome.
And it's funny, I reached out to Theo Fleury, who released Playing with Fire, like, and he was a whistleblower book, right? And him and his trauma, and he warned me before the book, it was about to be published. He warned me. He's just like, it's like, you're about to be the savior, and you're about to be blamed for a lot of people's problems. And
interesting.
When it's something I didn't expect, and when you share like as deeply as open as I have, you provide a safe place, and people feel comfortable sharing with you, and that's a lot of work. Yeah, that's really heavy. It's a lot of responsibility, and when that happens, and you can't respond quickly or in kind or and I try to thank everyone for sharing and do what I can, but I'm not a therapist. It could get like, you're now to blame for those thoughts and feelings and their traumas. It's a tricky, slippery slope.
It's man, I don't even know where to start. There's so many mixed emotions just as a listener hearing in society that there's traumas that happen, there's childhood traumas, there's addictions, there's suicide, there's all of this that happens, and then to hear such raw words and to digest it and really absorb everything that I was hearing, it took a lot. And it was I was up late last night going through it still, and it's just so deep, but I loved like you said, the dark humor portion. I love that because it makes it so relatable to so many people. And it doesn't have to be that they're dealing with addictions or suicidal, but life. You were talking about life and what you were experiencing through life, and it's so raw and authentic. And I said to Mark leading up to this, as I was going through the book, and I was like, is he going to be this open on the podcast? Because it's just, your words absolutely are going to help people, and they have for sure. What year did the book come out?
April 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, is that it, eh? Mm-hmm. I thought it was. Wow.
Yeah. So, April 2020, and do you have the numbers on how many now have been sold?
Oh, I think 11,000.
11,000.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's having a moment now. And it's been pretty dormant for a few months, and then let's get the Amazon notification. It's like, oh,
I got Michael on it, and he told all his buddies.
What's that?
Spiders.
Yeah.
It was him.
Yeah. Spiders. You're welcome.
Thanks.
So let's dive into that. Let's dive into the, not even book one, real life. Life number, starter one. Starts in Montreal.
Yep.
So that's how you know that I actually read the book.
No. You're going to be quizzed
I've just
later.
been pretending
it was
this
the-
whole time.
The forefront. I just read the forward. No, but so was it 1972?
Yep.
Born
Whoa.
in
Okay, that's good.
in Montreal. Yeah.
Just aged me.
Yeah. No, I'm not too far off, but so 72 in Montreal. What was that like?
So I don't remember Montreal. Like I think it was a shotgun wedding, as I understand it, with my parents, and like when I think I was young, I was 6 months old when my dad smacked my mom around once, and once was too many, so she up and bounced to Hamilton, Ontario, and that's where I grew up mostly there. I remember that more, and I was like. And that's the 70s, right? That's Steel Town.
Steel Town,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Very, very, very rough. And like, my father told, and like, I mean, she essentially kidnapped me. And so he effectively said, if you're going to try to get child support, I will sue you and I'll get full custody. Yeah. So she was scared shitless to get any child support. So we never got any. And so, yeah, I was just trying to make ends meet. She was a hairstylist for many years and took over her cousin's plus spot. That didn't work out. So I was just kind of a latchkey kid, 70s and 80s.
So this is what we were talking about off camera, why I was like, maybe we're related.
Okay.
So, no.
There's
There we
a
go.
distinct possibility.
Yeah. I don't think we're related, but certainly when as we talk, over the next 12 hours here, no, wow. But as we're talking, well, there's connections. But essentially, when you were talking in your book about your upbringing in Hamilton, it resonated with me. I was born in Toronto, but my mother was raised in Hamilton, and so my mom comes from 13 kids, so large family, and same thing. Father wasn't around, similar upbringing that you talk about. And so you actually mentioned one of the streets in Hamilton and in the book. And anyways, last night I was calling my mom, and then I couldn't remember the name of it. And I'm like, shit, I got to remember the name to ask if she knows that street, because
It's Barton Street.
So I found it. I went back
Sorry
but I went back after it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I know what we're talking about now, and I know the area, and I've gone back to see my mother's homestead and all of that in Steel Town and the way it is, and so it just really resonated with me, that your story, and so I want to get back to that because I thought it was pretty interesting, because a lot of what you were talking about is having a single mom and all that. That was my grandmother was that, but. Anyways, the ages don't line up, so you're not my brother or cousin or anything maybe that I know of.
Wow, and
That'd be something.
That's another thing we can talk about later, is finding out I have an older sister. That I sent you the article.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but we can put a pin in that.
Yeah.
But that Barton
yeah.
Street,
Wow.
that Barton Street has one of my favorite lines in the book, of my own book.
Yeah.
Which is like, my ground zero now had a Starbucks.
Yes.
It was actually my favorite. I was like, I'm actually pretty proud of that one, because it's all fucking gentrified, and I was just like, they built on it. I didn't know how to feel. I brought Myra. And like, it's all, and it's like all these new condos and stuff. And it's like literally,
Well, it's funny you say that about gentrification there, because we went back, I guess it was 2 summers ago, and we go there, and I have an uncle of mine that owns some property there, like real estate properties and that. And so we were going around, and he was showing us some places, and then they decided to show us, take me where one of the places that they grew up at after they moved from the one place, and it was a dance studio on Main Street at one point. Big, beautiful arch windows and all this stuff. But the way to describe it was a complete shithole that was terrible. My one brother thought it was funny and set fire to the bed, and then that burnt. And anyways, it was a big mess, right? And so, typical Hamilton fashion, it sounded like. But anyways, we go back there, and I'm having this vision of like, oh man, I gotta protect my
Rat's
mom.
nests.
I'm in the hood, like I'm gonna carry. And then we show up, and there's potted plants everywhere and like little bistros everywhere. And then we go to the place that my mother was living in, where beautiful hardwood floor is still there, and they've buffed over the burn mark now, but it's all there, and it's a candle shop. I walk into this gorgeous candle shop, beautiful, second story. And I'm like, what the hell is this? This is not what you've told me.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
This isn't the Hamilton that I had in my head. So single mom, and you're in Hamilton. So let's get into that. Your mother, as much as you're comfortable getting into, and I mean, people are going to listen to the book or read the book, and they're gonna see where I'm going with this, because there was a very challenging time, very, very difficult time in your life. So kind of explain that. Your mother was working.
Yeah, mother's working a lot, I think. And I think she was, I'll say, like, looking for a mate. And she was young, right? She's in her 20s. And the hindsight of my own 20s is like, I was a child, right? I was a child of my 30s.
Much.
Yeah. And so, she was dating, and I think one of her suitors just violently raped me as an 8-year-old boy. And I didn't know who it was. Like, I describe it, and happiness disclaimer, things work out. But I don't tell her, I protect her from it. But she may have seen or known something, and we don't know. But I think that changed me. That just sort of, I internalized it, right? Your 8-year-old self can't process those things, and it tucked it away. So it, quote unquote, became a repressed memory. Yeah. But when you look back, we'll call it data, right? You look at happy-go-lucky, straight A's, a good kid, to just gone, despondent, not respect, just a daydreamer, just not present, and then. My own violence, right? I was very, very angry for a very long time.
How long did you live in Hamilton before this incident? You hadn't been there that long.
So I think before. Oh no, I was pretty much my entire young life. I was in Hamilton, and then I became kind of like a problem child, and was shipped back to my dad for when I was 14, 15. That didn't work out. And kind of just sort of bounced, tried to find my way, and I was just very angry back then.
Did you understand at the time why?
No idea.
When you talked about suppressed,
I knew there was something and I get into how I knew that there was something there, and I knew there was something wrong with me, right? And all of my teachers and all the adults in my life is what's wrong with you? I was like, I don't know, but there's something wrong with me.
And in the suppression, because I've always wondered that, do you literally completely forget about the memory, or is there kind of a lingering that it's there?
Yeah, and in my I forgot, or I did not remember
wiped it.
A thing. When it comes to the point where it comes back to me, I describe it as I had maybe a fuzzy photograph that's in a box somewhere to now I'm sitting and watching a 4K movie and watching it over and over again. That's the way, I think that's the way I describe it.
That's how you described it actually.
And it was literally, and it was true, and it would stop, and to close my eyes was to not look away. It was to seriously, I think my inner self, or whatever psychology is informing me, is just okay, no, we have to process this now.
How old were you at that point when you started having that? That was the question.
When it came back?
When it started coming back, you talked in the book about that blurry image, kind of like the boogeyman. All of a sudden, you're getting this image, and there was a specific moment though.
There's a trigger,
that happened. So how old were you, and what was that?
I was 39.
Yeah.
And I was with my ex-wife, and we were very happy, and we were talking about having a kid.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was, right? I think I subconsciously, had to be listen, if you're gonna have a kid, you have to fucking process this. And in many ways, right? It's am I gonna be a fucked up pervert like this fucking guy? Yeah. Or I'm what is my role going to be? What the fuck? And that's and when I finally came around to therapy and accepted it, that's the stuff. That's the real good stuff that I learned. Right? It's like, no, you're definitely mindful. You're the exact opposite. You become a caretaker, and but there's all these addictions surrounding that, which we can get into. But and I think, I think it really was the thought that I might be a father, become a father. It was just
That's
like,
what triggered it.
Yeah.
Wow. The that was basically just like in this podcast. That was like chapter 2. That all of a sudden you dropped that one, and
because I jump
was like
around.
you went back and forth, and but the way you were describing it in your book, I mean, first of all, kudos for your writing skills. Remarkable.
Thanks. The second book, the writing is fantastic.
It's better, so I got to go
Even better.
Jesus, now I got to go watch number 2.
As an aside, it's comedic essays.
That's number 2?
Yeah, it's just essays, me sharing shit, trying to be a good writer.
I love it.
Just having fun with it.
Well, I definitely will. I'll extend my Audible account.
Your second credit for the month.
My second credit for the month went to will go to you.
That's a big one.
Whoa!
That's serious.
Wow! I don't think I'm gonna get any royalties there.
He may actually have to up his subscription for that.
I might even buy the book. Okay, I might drop the
I'm
money.
such an asshole. I should have brought copies. I'm sorry. I will come back to bring
I have.
copies.
You
next
gave me a
time.
copy.
Because it came out in 2020 in COVID time, and so I got a box of them to go on this writing tour. There was no writing tour. I got a box of these books. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny you say that because, and I don't know what it was, but at one point I was going to buy the book and get the book, and then as I was doing it, I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to get the book, and then that's kind of morbid for me to go, hey Rob, will you sign my book? After I read the first 2 chapters, and I was like, I don't. Is that appropriate? Is it not?
Dude,
because
It hasn't stopped anybody else.
No. I'm just morally ethical, I guess. I don't know. I was just
I wasn't presumptuous enough to bring it.
no.
I should have brought one.
It was, and as we joke about it, but the truth is that your hardship and you getting through it is certainly, it's certainly been able to change lives, and yours included. It was therapy for you, right?
For sure.
But yeah, so let's get back into Hamilton, because Hamilton's for those that are
really
listening.
like Hamilton.
Yeah, so those that are listening, it's a fascinating
Hamilton.
It's a certainly fascinating place. So
There's great things in Hamilton. There's the Ticats, and it's not in Quebec.
well,
we just lost our Quebec listeners. You're laughing at.
Sorry, guys. Well, you could convince
Tabernacle.
Rob. You could convince him to come back.
Colis, you know my French. If we swear in French, we might not get kicked off of YouTube.
Oh,
there we go.
hey, what do you think about that?
Yeah, there we go.
Was that technically from France?
No.
Most of the vulgar stuff is from Quebec.
So living in Hamilton, and those emotions, everything suppressed. Close with your mom during this time,
In Hamilton,
like Hamilton, like growing up, just growing up in general.
Yeah, I was definitely a mama's boy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think she didn't know what to do with me, but yeah, we were pretty tight.
So, and the reason that leads to the next question was that you were a bit of a badass as a kid. You got into a lot of trouble. So that's why I'm wondering if you were close to mom, or if if that was like.
No, I definitely was. I never blamed her for anything. And she always came. She always showed up, even like getting arrested and going to the court. I'd be embarrassed, but the lawyer would call her and she'd always show up.
Well, let's talk about that. You talking about the car?
No, that wasn't really charged for. I was let go for the car.
Oh, okay. I thought when you got taken.
The guy didn't press charges, probably because there was a bunch of weird pornography in his car. But
yeah.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah. Had a lot to do with it. They didn't want to start.
No, the bigger one was like I was like anyone, maybe not like anyone, but I was like enamored with the whole mafia life. And it's Hamilton. And you're running with the sub of the type of name type people, and if I can do something, then I'll do it, and I'll run the St. Catharines, and I'll bring stuff back, and do those things, and then thinking I could be a gangster, and then It's a weird story, but like, yeah, like I pretty much try to extort a guy and like who just completely busts me and then end up in jail, get into a fight in jail, like, and it was a holding cell. Like it was like 3 days. Wasn't like I wasn't in prison or anything,
Yeah,
but
You weren't in
but it was over the
pen.
weekend and it wasn't a pleasant weekend. It was scary as fuck.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that was one of those pivotal times, right? Where I'm about to get into university, and the judge can just like, it's just at his whim, right? He's just in a decent mood. He looks at me, it's just like, this is your shot. This is it.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck, yeah, I gotta stop fucking around.
And
So
you
I
just-
took it. So I took it and I got pardoned and like I cleaned it up.
And you had
Good for
just
you.
you'd just been accepted at
Carleton,
that point to
yeah.
Carleton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're looking to come up here now.
Yeah,
And
I had like an aunt and uncle here who's the unique part of my family who supported me, was pretty kind.
Yeah.
He's like a lifer, Air Force guy, and she was like an executive, just like really smart people, and like it's one of those happy-go-lucky guys that like no matter how much I fucked in my life, it's like no matter what you do, you're destined for great things, Robert. And
Yeah.
it's just like I didn't hear that from anybody.
Wow.
Anybody, least of all my
Yeah.
like
How did that
and I just held on. I talked about that.
He
in
gave
the
that
book.
to you.
Yeah.
I held on to that. Like,
Yeah.
like I must have been a teenager, but like I never let that go.
You know what's funny is like I think for all of us, like having difficulties in your childhood, like I obviously can't relate to your story, but my childhood was difficult in many ways. And it's like you find that one person that believes in you, that has this capacity to make you feel good about yourself in a genuine, authentic way, and that changes your life.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. And you have to be able to receive it
Yeah.
and allow yourself to feel okay about it, right? Like you really have to give yourself permission. Like I think a lot of this like this whole masculinity thing is really about giving yourself permission to be okay. Like
Absolutely.
like this whole vulnerability thing, like I think it's a superpower. It's not a fucking weakness,
No.
right?
No.
1000%.
Well, it takes
Yeah.
bravery to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And only in vulnerability can you heal, really. Because
sure.
otherwise, like
Yeah.
you're just being something that's not who you are to protect an image of what a man should be. Like men, you could also be vulnerable and you could be masculine. Like
For
I
sure.
like to think myself as one of those men. Like like if I have something going on in my life, like I'm not somebody's gonna go and cry all the time, but like I've had tears, in moments where I'm just like, screw this. Like I'm just gonna let it go.
Yeah.
If it gets to be overwhelming, right?
Right, for
And then you feel better after. You're like, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, just own it.
Yeah.
Man, we were just earlier at the clinic. We were talking about breath work, and and the individual I was talking to, they were saying about the power of breath work, and I was like, man, I said I remember doing breath work in India and having this like just unbelievable experience, and it was very emotional. And when I came back to Canada, I was in this advanced breath work workshop, and I had just lost my dad. My son, for his 17th birthday, we had him at Rita Wood Drug Rehabilitation Program, and I'm doing this breath work few months after, and I mean, I just remember kind of going into this deep, dark space, seeing my father, and then coming to, and I'm snot crying, like bubbles coming out, and I remember just looking over at the I was on a river there, and I just remember looking over, and just it was the most therapeutic feeling of just everything's going to be okay. Just losing arguably my best friend, being my father, and then in many ways feeling like I've lost my son. It just hit me. It was
That's heavy.
powerful. And it
Yeah.
was like, whoa. And I remember afterwards sitting in the vehicle, and it was out of town, so I had a bit of a drive to get back, and I remember sitting in the vehicle and just having this moment of like what just happened. But the power of being vulnerable and in a crowd of people that I don't know, and I'm over there just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and then people coming over to me and giving me a hug, and and then the one instructor saying, like, kudos for you for allowing yourself to be that vulnerable, and
I think it's important to give yourself that safe space and surrounding yourself with people who give you a safe space to be that way.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's not always the case.
No.
Right.
No.
But I think we're entering an era now with like all the craziness, because you got to take the good with the bad. I think the world has lost its mind, or at least North America has. But in many ways, in the process of that loss, there's also some really good stuff that in that space that's being created by this excessive slack that we're giving ourselves. I think it's creating space for some really good stuff to happen, like men's vulnerability, therapeutics, things like psilocybin, like which were, illegal, God knows how long ago. And now we're realizing we've got Navy SEALs and JTF guys coming back and taking these therapeutics and dealing with their PTSD, and they're actually able to reintegrate into society, which is it's incredible. So I think it's crazy, but it's amazing that we're living in a time where there is a mesh of the masculine and the feminine energy combined, in balance. Because you have to have. My wife and I talk about this all the time. It's like you can't be the ultimate masculine without having the feminine inside you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because one complements the other. It's the whole the yin yang thing, right?
Yeah,
Which is that keeps blowing my mind. But
I think the most dangerous mind is the mind that is the one that stops searching and stops looking. And I think that we're in a society that's starting to open their mind and looking around at other options, alternative options, if you will. And
I think it's great that the regulators are starting to open the books on psychedelics there. And
absolutely.
They say 1/3 of the homeless in the U.S. are ex-military.
Military,
Right?
Oh, wow.
Like you can, if you can upend that, with ketamine or psilocybin, I'm a big proponent of MDMA. Chapters 3 to 5. But,
we talked about.
That was the rest of the book.
And honestly, I feel that those years changed me as a human. Allowed me to process through that. I mean, when I was able to get to there and then actually accept therapy along with that MDMA usage, even though I abused it.
So that was my question. And I don't mean to jump in there, but that's actually it's something I actually meant to ask you personally, is because you obviously took MDMA to party. We all know this. So I'm assuming now you're going to let us know, and if I'd love for you to talk about it, is it's practice and therapy. So did you do it with guided therapy as well? Or
I did not.
Or self.
It wasn't.
Well,
it was,
Vegas was guided therapy, Rob.
I think Vegas was definitely a guided
Arguably, Vegas is guided therapy. Okay,
that's what you're going
yeah.
Am I the bad little devil on the shoulder tonight?
Right now.
He's like, Rob shows up and Mike's ready to party.
No.
What a world Vegas was for sure.
And I've only lasted 3-4 days in Vegas, and I've done it numerous times, but not as often as you. But I've been to Vegas numerous times, but I can never stay more than 3 days, maybe.
You black
and
out.
I'm done with it. I'm done.
Generally, that's where I dance 3 or 4 days, and then, but it's nonstop though.
No.
Like there was, I don't know how.
I think while I was at Cirque du Soleil, you might have been over at Pure Club or whatever.
What's the next?
Part? Lighting it up.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to that and get into therapeutic aspect of it. Though, is that so? You get into Carleton and you come up to Ottawa, and fair to say things started to shift with your dynamic at that point. So why don't we get into that then? What was?
So Ottawa was incredibly good to me, and insofar as I was able to find a good job, I had a great girlfriend. I'm in university, so I have prospects, and Carleton turns out to be a bit I needed to focus. I couldn't do that and a full-time job and a place to live. So I drop out of Carleton, but I get these cool jobs in retail, which I've never worked, and I'm a great salesman in those contexts. And then my favorite job, I talk about it, is Foot Locker. I just loved working for Foot Locker. I love the friendships I've made, and I just get obsessed. I get just addicted. And I'm working 70, 80, 90 hour weeks, and and in a market like Ottawa, I'm leading sales in the country. So like from an Ottawa standpoint, when you're beating guys at like Eaton Center, Toronto, people like take notice. So I start to achieve some success, right? At least in that world. And I love it. And I'm making like, 48 grand, and I'm like happy. I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm good. I'm a life.
This is it.
Like, I'm like, I got friends that I really like. Got a good girl. Like, I'm just living life. This is it. I'm like, I made it essentially. And it wasn't until they accused me of stealing that I left. So they fully accused me of like, they pulled me aside, and they had like a loss prevention program. They hire a bunch of ex-cops, and they're like, you know what, we think you're stealing. I'm like, okay, like what kind of proof? Well, like we found these receipts, and you're putting in these receipts, and you're giving yourself the cash. I'm like, okay. And it was like, we asked that you quit, or we're gonna press charges. I'm like, well, if I did something wrong, you'd probably press charges to make an example out of me. I happen to be good friends with the district manager, and I was just like, listen, can we do an inventory? Because if I do what they say they're doing, the stuff's missing. Yeah. So we do an inventory, nothing's missing. I'm like, okay, so I've proven my innocence. Yeah. And so I write this incredible long letter, and so like then I send it to all the presidents and all the vice presidents. I would like an apology, maybe a pair of shoes. Nothing. They're like, no, we stand by our loss prevention. I'm like, okay, and I quit on the spot.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And so what do you think, like what happened there? Is it, so somebody maybe that's jealous, that's doing it and maybe accusing you? Or?
I think now looking back, it's like a loss prevention company that's a third party that is trying to prove their value because they're spending that money, right? Why they wouldn't apologize when like I literally had evidence to the contrary, I don't know. I don't know what
they didn't want to admit guilt because if they falsely accuse you, it's bad.
Ego driven.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It makes them actionable. But I don't know. But I couldn't stay, which sucks. It's like so I had to leave all my friends and leave my job essentially.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Was that was at Rito Center?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah. I worked at all of them, but yeah, that happened at Rito.
So damn you, Rito Center, if you're watching right now.
Don't work there.
You screwed up. You screwed up.
No, we can't say that. I think we're going to get sued by Foot Locker. Rito
Center.
Have to beep it out.
I bought these shoes at Foot Locker last week.
and you didn't buy just one pair, but you bought like 8 pairs.
Everybody makes fun of me, Rob, because I've got indoor Adidas, I got outdoors the Superstars.
He is if he was dead, he's not dead, but you're the reincarnation of Mr. Rogers.
It's terrible. I show up here, everyone laughs at me. As a joke for Christmas this year, I'm going to buy everybody Adidas so they look like me.
It becomes the uniform.
I'm buying stocks and
I know what to dress up on. Halloween.
Mobility performance, working kicks.
Listen, everybody, I think all of us probably listened to Run DMC at one point.
Absolutely.
So there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Never look back.
I never look back. Yeah. I didn't fit in the crowd at the concerts in Detroit, but I had a good time.
Wearing high tops.
Yeah. My buddy and I actually went to a Beastie Boys concert, and we actually wore velour suits.
No, you didn't.
Adidas velour.
Oh, that's so good.
Nice.
Oh, you just it was like, would you do like, what are you doing? Be like, have you worn a velour suit? No, wait though. No. How hot? Because I never forget Seinfeld when George wore the velour suit.
So
Drape yourself in velvet.
Yeah,
he was sweating.
Yeah.
Basically, by the time it was to fight for my right to party, I was just a big ball of sweat. It was like squishy.
It like loses its appeal real quick.
That wasn't sexy. I digress. Here.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
So you left Adidas. Jesus.
The retail store that shall not be named.
The shop hashtag nobody knows. So you left there out of just spite. You're like morally.
No, you had to leave.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So you leave there. Then what's next step for you at that point?
I scrounge up a job at like an insurance company, and I was just telling the story recently. Actually, I was a filer. I came in and I fetched files. Like they had computers, but they worked on paper back then. Fuck, I'm old. And so a lot of my job is just like fetching and returning physical files from a different floor in this building. And I made a conscious choice to be the nice guy, the good guy that everyone remembers, right? So it's just like, and if anyone asked me how I was, I couldn't repeat the same word. And like, so I was like, like, how you doing? So it's like, I'm first rate. How are you? Right? Like, I'm fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, I'm outstanding. I would just make up words and and
random.
like, so, and like, I built my own energy up, and then a lot of people like saw me coming, and they would light up, and they would respond in kind. It's like, how you doing today?
That's
like
amazing.
top shelf, right? Like
you were that guy.
I was that guy.
I love it.
Yeah, and I loved bringing that energy, and the energy was returned. So like, I just made the conscious choice to do that, and that was emblematic of the rest of my life.
Was MDMA involved at this point, Rob?
I was so anti-drug back then. I didn't drink. I didn't like zero alcohol, zero drugs whatsoever.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And things
If you're
change.
if he's that awesome,
Things change.
Oh yeah, but we need more. We need to bring that back, and we need to have one person in every workplace that's like that.
For sure.
The world would be a better place.
For sure. Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be grumpy. I'd just be looking if I had a bad day. I was like, where's Rob?
Yeah.
I want to ask him how his day is going so I can tell him my day's great. I'm gonna make shit up.
I think it's a choice you make. Like anything else, it's like it really is a choice. Like people say happiness is a choice. I think it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
But it really is a choice. The way you act. You know?
what made you want to be that guy though?
I have no idea.
No,
You just had this drive.
I can't say like I've always had like an ambition, and I think with retail, like I really explored success, and I liked the success. I liked being like patted on the back and being appreciated, and the dozens of dollars that it came with. But but I think it really revealed kind of an ambition in me, ambition for success, in business and then in life, right? So like,
but you're pretty much a killer at everything you do, though. I mean, arguably, like. I mean, we're going to get into it. I wasn't a great
boxer. I was a terrible boxer.
No, you weren't. You were a good boxer. You're lying.
Well, I mean, if you have to bag that, but if you ask actually guys in the ring, I was great in the gym. Yeah. The ring was the problem.
But okay, so maybe a bad boxer. I don't know. I never got to box you, so I can't tell. But but in business, you were always killing it, even to your most recent venture, which we'll get into later. But I mean, in business, you slay it. Fair to say.
I mean, I've had some good success. I've had a lot of failures, right?
But that's part of
That's part of it, for sure.
That's part of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
At what point did you start getting that business mind then? Because I don't think going and getting files.
I think like jumping from the insurance company, I won an essay contest for my writing to get a full ride to do a computer programming class. And I absolutely killed that. And I talk about this in the book. My fiance, her father said, listen, if you're going to go to school and you're going to do this, and it was like a full intensive year, he's like, I got your rent.
Wow.
I'm like, and that was one of those times I'm like, when he said that, it took me out to dinner. Like, I didn't know how to process this. I excused myself from the table. I went to cry in the bathroom. We're at a restaurant.
Right.
And I had no idea. Like, I had no idea how to respond. And I came back, and he was just like, it's like, it was a lot. He's like, but don't worry. I got you. Don't worry about it.
Wow.
I was just like, one of my favorite people. And so, like I can't fuck this up. Right.
Yeah.
So I do this Microsoft Solutions, MCSD, this Microsoft Solutions Certified Developer, and like, I was the first, one of the first in the country to get it, and like, I killed it. I focused. Like for a solid year, just did what I could. I got hired right out of there, and that first job, I saw my boss like didn't really understand business. Not that I was an expert at all, but like
you could see,
like you described earlier offline, like you can see, you can connect dots from like this. You probably shouldn't be borrowing money to pay your staff. You probably shouldn't be at the golf course when we're working really hard. Like, and like there's no sales force. Like it was just like, okay, there's the inner workings that don't work for me. And then I had a friend that worked at a big corporation that needed some work done. And he's like, listen, like if you want to do some stuff for free, You know, maybe we can get you in there. I'm like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense because, you know, then I talked to my boss and my boss is like, nope, we don't do that. I'm like, well, can I do that? He's like, yeah, fill your boots or whatever. And so I did my own stuff and then they liked it. And that they asked for another one and I did that for free too. And they really liked it. And then the project manager of that corporation was like, okay, well, we have a paying job. And I was just like, really? It was like $5,000. And I was just like, oh, so cool. This is amazing. And they're going to pay me to do that. And then they liked that. And then I recruited a buddy and then went to my boss. I'm like, can I buy you out? And he was like, he was great. Like he was just like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, here, buy the assets and, you know, I'll keep these clients and you can do that. I'm like, cool. And that just parlayed into a business. And like, we just, and I was the lead developer and like literally like, there were times where, and these were like maybe 120 hour weeks where I was sleeping in there and like we would just order food and we'd get up and code and we'd go back to sleep and we'd take shifts. I'm like, oh, you do this. And then the testing and so much testing. And then, do you remember the big blackout in the Eastern Seaboard in 2003?
No.
So like all of these people were like went black, like New York City, it was a crazy blackout.
Yeah.
I was scheduled to do this piece of software, and the first iteration was supposed to be like 4 or 5 months and stuff. And they asked for the first version. After that, they thought it was like a marketing a message from heaven, because it was they were about to sell their backup software. You know, blackout happening, you should back up your software. Back when you actually had to press the save button, which we don't do nowadays. And so can you have like a prototype ready in 6 days?
6 days.
Yeah. So like literally and it was 2 of us back then. And like the 2 of us we just stayed at the office for those 6 days.
Straight up.
And we did it.
You grinded it.
We did it. Yeah. And it was just like, okay, basic stuff here. Okay, we can build this. And then that turned into like a really big system that, I think like 500,000 people were using that system.
Wow.
Within 2 months. And like, they made so much money. And like I made money, the business made money, but like not compared to what they did. They knew what they were doing. Yeah. 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 So,
how bitter were you?
Not at all. I was grateful for the opportunity and I was tired.
Yeah.
And that was, it was great because like I went into massive credit card debt to buy that business and like I was stressed and then I had to hire people and then I had to like pay them.
And you talk about that in the book.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
You don't talk about that part of being an entrepreneur and being up lights and taking chances and worrying whether or not you can pay your staff and like their problems become your problems and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm in startup mode again now. I don't know what I did.
You put right back into it again.
I'm like, starting from scratch again. I'm like, this time I have a great, last time too, but like I have a great co-founder. But fuck yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And I forget it. And like, it's just like, how are things? It fucking sucks. Things suck, man. I'm a startup
Startups.
Well, this is what Mark and I were talking about the other day. I was saying that I drove in here a few weeks ago and I pulled into our parking lot and I looked at the building and I was like, I wonder at what point I'm going to not be a part of the journey. And it's not going to be a journey anymore. It's going to be this just fine-tuned, robotic, if you will. At what point is that going to happen? And I'm looking at the building but then I'm thinking of like, what's next? Okay, like what's next? I'm like, well, I guess that journey's going to keep going if that's the case.
It never ends.
You know?
Well, I think your journey continues, right?
Sure.
Like we build, if you're really good about it, and I guess this is my own ideals, I suppose, but like, I really buy into the Simon Sinek stuff. It's like you have a just cause, you have a mission, and like I'm building a company to definitely live on, like Ascent, like that. That is far beyond what I can be a part of anymore. I'm a small teams guy. I loved the journey, but I had to let it go.
Yeah. The journey is arguably some of the best, most exciting, thrilling aspects. Like there's something thrilling about you know, for us here, I mean, a new piece of equipment comes in and you just spent a shit ton of money on it. And you're like, yeah, I hope that everybody comes and uses it.
Oh, yeah.
You know the benefits of it,
Yeah.
but then you don't want to sound like a sales pitch when you're talking to people, but
you're excited about it. You want to talk about it.
Yeah, and you're excited. And because you believe so much into it, you get the product, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh,
You got to sell the product.
yeah. So every session times this, times how many hours a day, times how many weeks, times months.
And your break even.
Yeah, and then yeah, and then
Yeah,
I can eat bread then, and then I can have, you know, it's like you go through all of that.
You're at Mr. Noodles.
Yeah. Ramen noodles for 4 years.
99 cents a pack.
Let's be honest, I didn't get this size from eating ramen noodles, so I'm doing something right in business.
Yeah.
Elephant in the room.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't mean like that.
Not actually elephant.
Wait a minute.
Well, wait, which part of the elephant?
Yeah. That big flirt mark.
This was how we started. Mike was flirting with me. And then yada, 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 podcast.
Oh, man. So
True story.
True story. True story.
So business, I mean, you start this business, you talk in the book about, again, those hours, those endless hours, the stress that it's causing.
Yeah.
And relationship. Let's get into that during this time frame, your startup company. And a lot of people don't realize that it's very difficult to have a healthy relationship and a startup company.
Yeah.
And so things obviously took a turn at that point for you. And what all kind of went down with that, and what did you learn from that?
I wish I could say I learned at that point, but I don't think I did. I think, like, obviously hindsight is I was addicted to work because there was no drugs, there was no alcohol, and it was a way to not face who I was. And who I was an asshole. Like, I was cheating on my wife at that time. I was like, whenever I had time, it wasn't spent with her. So there's that part of it. And so I was definitely an asshole for a lot of it. And I thought that was part of it. Right. I thought a part of the success is to get
The persona.
right.
Yeah.
Like, and really much I think I bought into that, but you know, I think, and I try to own that as much as I can. And I mean, startup life is really hard on its own. You know, and like I said, I'm in it now, and to maintain friendships, to maintain a relationship, to have kids, and, you know, like, and paraphrasing Carl Bratz is he's like, I think it's hard to do all of those things very well at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So there are sacrifices have to be made. In those moments, I always choose myself, and I always choose the business. And I chose the business because I really wasn't looking within. Like, I was busying myself.
Do you think that now this is where we get deep here? Do you think that with you cheating at that time, do you think it was as much of you thinking it was part of that business life that you had envisioned, or do you think it had more to do with deep repressed?
I think it's a rich
memories?
tapestry for sure. But like, it was a checklist. If I can achieve having sex with women, I can achieve monetary success and things, right? And have a beautiful wife and a nice big house. Happiness should be there, right? That's how you get there. Check.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm very unhappy, actually.
Yeah.
And that's when, that's like suicidal ideation brings in. You're like, I'm doing all the right things, or at least what I was taught, right?
Yeah.
And it's very much like that was my dad's thing, right? Like, he was very successful that way, and cheated, and then like that's that's my model
So
for being a man.
So how old were you when you bought the company?
God, probably early 30s. maybe 28, 29.
28, 29?
Yeah.
And then at what point in your life was the thought of suicide?
Suicide was always there. It was
Oh,
always
really?
it was
Yeah.
always an option. Yeah, for sure. So many times, like you're just tired and you're just like, why even bothering? Right. There's like-
Interesting.
Was the first attempt, you talk in the book about the tie,
Yeah.
and your cat.
Yep.
Was
The
that
cat.
was that the first?
Just passed away.
Yeah,
Oh,
sad.
good.
I saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Logan.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So
my buddy.
how old was Logan then?
Logan was old.
Jeez.
Yeah, he was pretty old. I think he was 17. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cats are the best.
Yeah, he was a good boy.
Sorry.
It was.
Yeah.
I was sad when I saw that.
Yeah.
Legitimately sad for you.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Well, Logan's a big part of your journey.
He is.
Very big
Yeah,
part.
he is my buddy.
So
Yeah.
So at what point then did you're 28, 29, starting this business, you're having suicidal thoughts throughout your adolescence?
Yep.
At what age was that? And was that first attempt was it tie?
That wasn't a first
That
attempt.
wasn't?
No,
No?
there were several. There were some other smaller attempts. Like, well, not
Yeah.
smaller, I guess. Other attempts. There was, like early 20s, mid 20s. There were times where just like, even like I was successful at Foot Locker and I was just living just this weird life with this roommate, and like Christmas was like alone. Right. So like, it's like I couldn't handle my family. So I'm just sitting in the bathtub thinking, well, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then, and I was setting things up to I think I'm going to just do it. And like,
Yep.
literally getting into the bath. And I know I don't take baths, but it was a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
But my ex-girlfriend of 10 years prior or something calls me up that I hadn't talked to her. Just randomly. She's like, I was just thinking about you. And
Wow.
changed, like I haven't talked for like, a few hours. She's like, yeah, it's like she had moved to New York and she's just like, just thought I'd call just randomly, right when I was
Wow.
about to commit suicide.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like a girlfriend I had when I was 19. And like we had different interactions throughout the years, throughout these last 30 years. And we're friends again. We rave together. We rave together with my current wife.
Wow.
So random.
That is amazing.
I know, like, like she literally, like stopped me committing suicide
Wow.
that night.
Unbeknownst to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now she's just like, oh, hey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Weird.
That's, I'm a firm believer. I don't believe in coincidences. I always think like,
And I sobbed like after that.
Of course.
Like, I just lost my shit. It was just like,
Well, she knew something was
how
up when
did
you're like,
that
I'm having a
happen?
bath. She knew something was up, Rob. She's
it's like, I know you in
yeah,
baths.
yeah.
what do you mean
'Cause
taking a bath?
I'm so like you're sitting in your own filth. That's
Yeah,
how
yeah.
I feel about it. Like, and like she knows I feel that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that it's healthy that we can talk the way we're talking about
sure.
this. I mean, it's because there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and then that's probably not a good analogy.
It can be.
That's not a good
Can be.
analogy. But,
Well, I think it's
you know,
important to
it's-
use the words too, and like I've taken suicide prevention courses, and it's
Yeah.
really important to acknowledge that. Yeah, like are you thinking about suicide?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
saying it. And it's not a taboo word.
No.
And if someone like really is truly honest and they say it out loud, it becomes fuck. Yeah, I am thinking about it. Maybe I should seek help.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great places.
Yeah.
A lot of great places to find out there. Honestly, now we're in a fucking different world. ChatGPT can be your therapist.
Yes.
Actually,
I've
yo,
tested it.
Are you serious? Yeah. Okay.
it's
Okay.
one of the-
Let's talk about this for a second.
My whole, I mean, I'm in tech. I've led
Yeah.
one of the first AI projects at SN. Like I before it was as cool. And I had two big aha moments. One is tech based, but my second is mental health. I'm like, if I don't want to seek a human out and be vulnerable with a human, I can just be like, listen, I talk to it, and I talk to it every day.
Come
in
on. I
different
love
ways.
it. Yeah.
Because it'll respond to you like a human. I'm like, listen, I'm having these thoughts, and it will actually respond like appropriately. It's like, well, maybe you're having these thoughts. Maybe you should, look into talking to the therapist. It'll suggest places to call. It will give you some coping coping strategies.
Okay.
Right?
So sorry, just blew my mind right now because AI is amazing. And if humans use it the way it should be intended, we will usher a new era of, it could probably put it in a lab and cure any disease we have within a weekend because there's no bullshit funding behind it and there's no egos and they can find a cure, not a remedy. That makes billions of dollars anyways. But my thought is, what if they had a humanoid and you had a therapy session? Because then there's no bullshit. There's no ill-conceived. You don't look like somebody that bullied this person. It's because I've done, I don't know how much therapy through so many different people. Some were great, a lot were not. And my personal experiences with therapists was wow. I had one who actually tried to extort me. So she was trying to use the information in my therapy to lose my children and to break up my marriage because she wanted to have dental surgery done and she knew that I was making decent money. So she sent me a bill for the same value of what she had told me in a session. She had this big dental bill.
What?
I kid you. There's shit that I've gone through in my life.
To the board?
Dude, they wouldn't do nothing. So she literally gave me an ultimatum. She's like, if you don't pay me, she sent me a bill for was $10,500, and she had told me that she had to get implants for her teeth the week before, and it was $10,500. So she sent me and I was like, what? And oh my god. Anyways, so she's like, I'm gonna tell your wife everything that you said during your therapy. Which, by the way, I did nothing wrong. I was just expressing some of my feelings, and I guess in some manner could have been used incriminatingly with my wife because I shared my frustrations in order to seek out how to deal with it and to get the tools to become a better person, right? And she fucking does it. And I called her out. I'm like, you know what? I said, I'm going to therapy to become a better person. Send it. And I'm not worried about that. So she did, man. And then I called the board. I went through the whole thing. I called her boss. Ooh, nothing can be done, man. Nothing was done. You want to talk, that's where I was that was one of the first times I bawled my eyes out because I was in therapy trying to become a better person. It was through my divorce and stuff, right? And I was going through some really dark shit. And it was hard for me to go to a therapist. I had done some, but not really that deep. And I'm going through some deep work. And at least she was leading me down that way, which was really good. But when I got to that real vulnerable point where I was I really felt I was stuff that you hold back from people, right? Yep. So I put it on the table, and she takes that and uses it against me. I violation wise, I've never in my life felt so violated because holy shit, I'm trying to be vulnerable, and this woman literally tries to extort me. The person who's supposed to protect me, right? Anyways, so Chat GPT will not extort me. My friend, right?
That's deep.
Jesus.
Dude, legit, that happened.
That's quite the off turn here.
Yeah, sorry.
But no, sorry, no.
I'm just thinking I wish Chat GPT was there.
So did that prevent you from being vulnerable with other therapists?
No.
That's good.
No, because what I've learned over the years is, and because this, I've gone through all sorts of shit with people in all capacities, people that I should trust, love. I've been betrayed by more people than you could count. And most of the people in my life that I'm closest to have in some way or another betrayed me, and we've mended the bond, and it's been unbreakable as a result, because when you show love and compassion and acceptance, good people can sometimes do bad things, but not on purpose, not by design. Hurt people, or people will sometimes play out of character because of something that's going on in their lives. And I've learned over years, especially dealing with my father growing up, is to accept people in their darkest, because then you don't brand them with what they do, you brand them with who they are. And those things don't always align. Yep, so I've always been able to maintain vulnerability despite the fact that I can get hurt.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that, that's why Myra and I have come so close. And I talked about that in the book. I literally cheated on her, and her response was love. Yeah. Right. And that's incredible. Still blows my mind. Still gets me misty eyes. And she, I think one of her friends were no, trash is fucking condo. And instead she wrote this long letter. It was a long, I put some of it in the book, but it was long letter to be listen, you're hurt. I hope you're okay. And that's it.
I think first of all, we should give a shout out to her.
Huge.
You know what?
Yeah. She's a saint.
I slow clapped so many times when I heard her name come up. I was like,
Were you driving?
yeah, I was. I was like all over the road. No,
Wait a minute.
sorry, officer. Yeah, sorry, officer. I was slow clapping.
He's like, I know. I was watching you.
Yeah.
It said Mara.
Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it, but just as a beautiful soul, just kind, generous, compassionate, and I was like, holy shit! Like, would the average person do that? I don't think so.
No,
I
sure
don't.
not.
You know, and yeah, it was unbelievable to. I shouldn't say unbelievable. It happened. It was refreshing to hear someone that was so compassionate to you, and I think that compassion, in many ways, from what I saw, what I read, was that it changed who you were as a person.
Yeah.
10 times over.
It's amazing what she did to me that way, right?
Yeah.
And I'm able to be like incredibly honest with her about everything and anything, thoughts, feelings.
Yeah, that's important, man.
And like there's zero judgment. Well, some judgment, but there's no recourse, right? Like we fight.
Who doesn't? First of all,
so, but like it's never, well, we're done. It's like I'm mad at you, not I hate you.
Yeah. And that's important, man. A lot of people in relationships that end up ending is because they feel like when you're in a dispute with somebody, it's like a win or a loss situation, right? And then it becomes adversarial, and then you've got scoreboards, right? I think like the healthiest relationships like yours is it's collaboration, right? When people have a disagreement, it's like it's an exercise, because a lot of the good shit comes out in those fights usually. Yeah. Right. At least this is my experience, but
for sure. There's actually an amazing. I've already gave you a book to read or a couple books to read, but there's and she's a best-selling author, and she's in Ottawa. Sue Johnson. She wrote a book. She uses attachment theory but applies it to relationships. Hold Me Tightly. Amazing. Even if and I just sort of read it because I was really getting into attachment theory with our kids and stuff, and how it applies to relationships. It really solidifies your vacuum. Like, why am I pissed off? I'm pissed off because she did this. Not really because she did this. I'm pissed off because the reason she did that, she might be mad at me. She might leave me. I have problems with abandonment. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so it's a me problem.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And now we can see things after reading the book a couple of times. It's like, okay, I see it. And then I can tell her that. It's like, you saying those things makes me feel this way. It makes me feel afraid. And then you can really short circuit a lot of anger.
Interesting.
That way. Yeah.
So what's the book again?
Hold Me Tightly.
Hold Me Tightly.
And she's a local author here in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, she has a few
Podcast number 6.
That's coming. We're going to have to find her.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to hunt her down.
I don't know her. I just read her.
No, it's
book.
okay. I'll show up at her house. Hi, I read your book.
Guys.
She's like, oh, God, call the police. They defunded the police, guys. I'm staying.
All the money that we make on this podcast goes to you getting out of jail now.
Bail me out.
You're going to be in for a long time, apparently.
So ChatGPT.
Yes. ChatGPT as a therapist, please. Let's get to that.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty
Okay.
much, that was pretty much it.
That was it.
So let's go back, because we're talking about having this amazing wife and supportive wife, but let's talk about the history leading up to that and how supportive she's been, because I don't want to tell too much, but because I do want you to sell more books. But at the same time, I think it's important to put that in context as to when I say I was just amazed at this woman. There's reasons why I say that. So let's get back to the two of you, and kind of what transpired getting into the business world. We just talked about some of your extracurricular activities, and then what happened from there. When did the Vegas?
I think
scene,
it's the repressed memory coming out, literally, it flipped a switch. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done here, guys. And the reason the title of the book is Before I Leave You is the things to get done before I check out. And like, I don't want to leave my partners high and dry. I don't hate my ex. But I have to leave her and like make sure she's okay, making sure she has, passwords and access to the bank accounts and the insurance goes in the right place. I'm literally like figuring things out to check out. And then I go to our mutual friend's bachelor party and discover ecstasy. And that changes the course. I'm like, whoa, I can feel
what is this?
I can feel like this. And like, obviously being anti-drug and all of a sudden doing a bunch of ecstasy, you're just like, my buttons feel great, right? Like, like I just want to love life. And I loved writing those descriptions. I really loved writing how it made me feel. And in that context too, because I was literally just hating all things of breathing became a problem. So like being high all the time was fantastic.
So so drug of choice, we get into that.
MDMA,
And
what was ecstasy back then?
Mix a little cocktail, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as I'm seeing you describe in great detail the feeling of that, all I could think about for myself was, holy shit, he doesn't know what's coming next. He doesn't know the down.
Oh, the come down.
And so I'm enthralled now at this point in your life story, and I'm sitting there again going, oh shit, what's next? And that kind of, that's why I look like shit. I'm tired. I have been listening to the book, at least staying up, learning about you. But for me, I was like, oh shit, he's like, he's in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah.
Like,
I was doing more than a
a
clinical
dose.
I was partaking.
Yeah. There was more than a recreational
and it was drinking too.
Experienced.
And that was relatively new to me. Like I, kind of a lightweight there, and I was just like making myself sick. But then once I discovered MDMA, it was like, I was holding on to the drink for show.
It was a social thing. Yeah.
I was really I just wanted to get high.
So
you're flying on that.
Everyone was my best friend, and everything was about love. And like, I really believe those years helped me process what I had to process in therapy, which I didn't do, under the influence.
And you talk about those moments in Vegas where you spend the money for the bottle service, and then you have all the attention, and everybody's over and who's that guy, and then you pay for the extra amount to be at the front of the bottle service booth,
and the security
and
the rock star package.
And like,
yeah.
And this is all net new to me. Like I have I try to write it that way. I'm like, okay. And someone's like, watch out for the bottle rats. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like, right. What? I'm like, how does this work? And it was, and I tried to teach in those moments. I'm like, okay, well, this is weird.
Yeah.
And like, you pay for what you get in Vegas. You want to look like a superstar? You can do that. You just have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's such a scam, but it's not, because it's really upfront and transparent. Like
it's
you
like
spend $12,000 on a booth
that has the best
for
nest.
4 hours. Yeah.
Well,
and you're surrounded by giant Samoans, and you go to the washroom and they're pushing everyone out of the way so you can go to the washroom first. That's a fucking good feeling, right? I felt like an insignificant human. Like I felt like a piece of garbage. But in those moments, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm someone special. And you're paying for that. It's like a ride at a park, amusement park.
You got the line bypass at Wonderland.
Yeah.
That's about what my life goes.
I'm complaining about
with my kids.
$50 line bypass at Wonderland, and Rob's paying thousands and things.
Oh yeah.
Could have just gone to Wonderland.
I know. Rob, if I only knew you those years ago.
And I was always trying to spend it all. I was trying to like
I was
put
gonna say
myself
that.
into, I was trying to put myself in a corner that I couldn't get out of.
So
Interesting.
I was going to say that is that it
And I did.
seemed
I spent
that
it all.
Yeah, you did.
were
I
spending a
remember,
lot of
yeah.
money.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
spent. I don't know how much. How much was it again? Did you spend? Do you know?
Total?
Yeah.
Oh, probably like $500,000.
Fun.
Yeah.
fun.
I know.
Probably I just pissed it all away.
Yeah.
So from going,
and I,
impressive.
and I had to pay taxes, and I had no money for it.
So mission accomplished.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I succeeded everything. I know you're right.
You did. Spending all your money. Check.
All right. Like, oh,
Now,
also,
guns
I'm
a-blazing.
like, I'm not negative. I'm very, very deep into
and
negative.
during this journey of ecstasy and alcohol and women and all of that, you had an end goal of finishing your life though.
For sure.
So you really didn't think about, what happens if I have to pay taxes? You're like, I'm not around to pay taxes
Yeah,
at that
like
point.
I wanted to be in
Yeah.
that corner.
Yeah,
I
you
wanted to
wanted
be
that.
like, I didn't want to give myself any excuses.
So at that point in your life, what was game plan for suicide for you? What
I guess I was just waiting for the right time where I would just have the balls to do it. And it came to fruition that night. And that like chapter 1 night, I guess.
Yes.
And then trying to overdose at that rave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
That.
like-
How much Molly did you take that night? I always wondered.
I think it was 18 pills.
18
Yeah.
pills. Holy shit.
And yeah, there was a lot of cocaine that night.
That is
And
unbelievable.
yeah, and it's like one of my best friends. It was like he clued in at the end, you know. And
That's where he was like.
gives me this look, and like I cry every time I think about it.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time. It's just like he's like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
I've done that, right?
Crazy.
About to cry
Yeah, no, it's
again,
all
but,
good.
like,
That's
it was just and I saw that look back at me, and I'm like sober at that time. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, it's kind of not fair. I'm kind of not
meaning
fair.
not
Yeah.
fair that he
That
knew
he's
what
doing
you
that
were
to himself.
that
to
I'm
his friends.
killing. Yeah,
You were-
he knew I was killing myself. And
He saw it.
Him and I were going. He was going through divorce as well, and we were just going through the shit together. We're in a
Yeah.
foxhole, and I was leaving, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh,
well, he
That's
was,
not cool. Don't leave me hanging,
No.
bro.
yeah.
yeah,
Well, he
Yeah.
was he was essentially actively watching a suicide,
Yeah.
an attempted
Yeah, yeah.
suicide
Yeah.
during that time, and it clued into that, and that's, and that's really what snapped you out of that moment.
So I was about to do a shit ton more.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe
my
let's go back a little. Set the setting here for that.
Oh, right. I'm at the biggest rave in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Hardcore.
Called EDC, Electric
Yeah.
Daisy Carnival in Vegas.
Yeah.
And surrounded by 100,000 of my closest friends.
Yeah.
And I would say 999 people are high on Molly.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we're all just had a blast, and like you're able to dance and be whatever. And it was the second night, and made some interesting friends that night. I think I just sort of just went off on my own and explored, and then we met the main stage for Avicii. Avicii was our favorite guy back then, who killed himself.
Yeah.
And he was about to come on, and I had like this fist full of drugs, and I'm 18 in, like I'm just like going to do the rest of it, and there's a bunch of other things in there, and then let it go, and then a sandstorm hits, because like it's at the racetrack, it's in the desert. The sandstorm hits, and these
Not the song.
big,
Just
huge,
so
not
people
the
know.
song.
Just so let's
Fair, good,
yeah,
good EDM
Yeah.
knowledge there. Good.
Classic.
Yeah, I know. I just aged myself
Classic.
too there.
Yeah, like she's old school.
Yeah, I know.
Now it's in my head.
He's like, I gotta do
Please
it.
play
He's
that.
like, I gotta give me the pills. It's too old.
Yeah, so a sandstorm hits, and like the loudspeaker, big like God, essentially, this voice comes on, please step away from the stage. And then I'm being whipped, and people are bumping me, and I drop all the drugs, and my buddy grabs me, and like he literally physically carries me like off of out of that place, and through the rafters, and then into the car where you
That
get
crazy long
sick,
car ride.
and
Yeah.
then it brings me back to his we were with a stripper that night. Went back to her house.
Yeah.
So they tried to take care of me, and then they passed out, and I just bounced and left.
Yeah. It's deep. That was a crazy. I think that in the whole book, that's probably the one that hit me the most, because it's just like that was probably the closest you got, because you were
I was there.
you were there.
Yeah,
and you had made the decision.
Outside influence. Like fucked me up.
Yeah.
And like I don't know how I got it. Like I don't know how I got out of the tie. I still don't know how I got out of the tie. Like that's just like stupid. I don't know how. Like I couldn't see. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't like I was out. I should not be here.
So someone's looking out for you, man, because it seems like every time
Maybe
you tried.
Logan.
Well,
the cat got me out.
Well, let's describe that, because that was a kind of it was a very powerful moment in the book where you've taken a tie, you're created a noose, you're gonna end your life, and you describe very vividly, like you're getting tunnel vision, things are going dark. Why don't you explain that? Because then Logan comes along. Logan the cat.
Fucking cat, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, it was the tie I used to play with Logan with as a kid, and like he would just bat it out. And like I, as much business as I've done, I hated wearing a tie. I've always hated ties, but I had one that was always tied, just in case.
Yeah.
Okay. So I grab it, and like I have this kind of an open concept type stairwell where I was able to hang it and like kneel in place, and all I had to do was lean forward. It was very calculated, and I was like, I don't have to like fall and sit up there and shit my pants. Like I can just like the autoerotic.
You talked about that.
That was kind of a dark humor, but I think asphyxiation happens, and then I lean forward, and like I can't see and I can't breathe.
You're blacking out.
I'm completely blacked out, and then I remember panicking, and I don't know how I got out of it, but I did. But I still couldn't breathe, and I still couldn't see. So I'm like, down the stairs I go, and the tooth kicked in, or it like bumped in. My thumb's all fucked up, and I'm just vomiting, and then there's this cat just staring at me. It's just like, what are you doing?
Hey man, you want to hang out?
And then I literally am embarrassed for myself. Now I'm either fucking, what did I describe it? It's like I'm incompetent, or like I'm doing a cry for attention, but nobody's fucking here. So like it doesn't make any sense, right? So I'm like, okay, that makes me incompetent. Like I don't know what the hell's going on. I think just the survival instinct may have kicked in or whatever, but
that's wild.
I mean, the way you describe it, what at that leading up to that incident, that tie and Logan, what were you thinking at that, like leading up to that
night?
Yeah, like that evening
that night was a lot of what we're talking about now, where I was I'm having inner dialogue. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to do it. Just do it. Like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not going to go see a therapist. I've lost the woman of my dreams. I've lost everything. I have nothing. I can't even pay my fucking taxes. My friends will be fine. Cause I'm in a state where all I want is relief, right? Like every single thing is painful. Like it was hard to go to work. It was hard to be that happy guy. I was still that happy guy at work, and being a high energy person, and then coming home and like hating who I am. Like, so when I really internalized it, when I like the rationale was no more pain. And I think that's what I describe. And I believe that's what a lot of people feel. Like, it's like, I can just get on the other side. I won't have to feel this anymore. And I truly believed it, and I still like that was truth to me then, right? Like it just and it would be true if I had gone through with it. And it's weird now, and it's one of the messages like of the book, of my life, is that like it can turn around. One of the things we can be, assured is things will change, right? This too shall pass, right? And that led me down those roads when I wanted to heal and I wanted to get better. Buddhism was a very, very big part of it. And this too shall pass is such a powerful thing if you really, really let it come. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and when the good stuff, man, enjoy the good stuff because
Yeah.
it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And in the bad stuff, I'm like, it'll.
Yeah.
I don't care about the bad stuff anymore.
Yeah. I heard a really wise quote was like, what was it? It was, life has its seasons and every season has an end. So if you're in a bad season, just remember, this shall pass. This too shall pass. Yeah. So I mean, that's what my wife was telling me. She's like, yeah, this is just a season. Because I think as entrepreneurs, holy shit, do we ever go through seasons? It's like, my God. Yeah. Oh my God. It's crazy. But yeah, seasons.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Especially as an entrepreneur.
Oh my God.
You got to push the rock.
Holy.
You got to keep pushing the rock.
And you like, I got to say it because I mean, we're all entrepreneurs. You stop second guessing yourself, but then you start to wonder why you're not second guessing yourself. And then you almost second guess the lack of the second guess. Does that ever happen to you? Because
if I stop second guessing myself, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always have to come at it from a different angle. Like this new business here, I'm in it because you've seen it. I've shown you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like this model is, I approach it as how can this not work? Tell me why this is not work. I want to take it to the smartest people I know. Tell me why this won't work.
But that's a question I think every entrepreneur should ask.
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
That is the fundamental of success right there. Is that, again, talking about being vulnerable, like putting it out there.
Yeah.
And saying, what can I change here?
Yeah.
What
Asking
needs
for
to be
feedback
changed?
too. Yeah,
You know,
for
like
sure.
Yeah.
That's super important. And I think in life in general too. I mean, I go through my life like that. What can I do to be better? How can I learn from this? What can I do next? Like, you know, whether it's being a parent, a spouse, whatever the case is, entrepreneur, whatever it is. But yeah, certainly. So, man, because there's so many questions I have. You can tell I'm like squirrel brain here. I want to go back to then you get married. Let's get into that. So you
with my current
wife. Yeah. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit. Well, actually, before that, let's actually talk about with Vegas. I thought it was quite interesting when you start talking about the bouncer you start to do business with.
My security guy in Vegas.
Your security, yeah. So and
I'm still friends with that guy.
Still,
yeah,
that's awesome. Right.
Yeah, like he went from, I got into a fight in the club, and like a guy just came at me. That I asked him to leave our booth, and he just like swung, and like I moved and I pushed him, and he went over, and then all these large men came at me, and I put my hands up, and like I just sort of tapped me. Robert is his name, and he's just like, "Don't worry, I saw what happened. I got you." And he's like, "By the way, I'm private security. I do this," and it was like really reasonable rates. It wasn't really expensive, but it looks baller. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, that's actually kind of awesome. And then I became his friend because I would go to Vegas alone, like a degenerate. And like he'd literally come get me at clubs. I'm passed out in the washroom and shit. Like I was fucked up. Like he would make sure I got home safe, right? So like, and the bouncers got to know me there, so they knew to call him because he's one of the head the head bouncers of Excess at the time. So like, and like I loved him. Sorry, it went on a tangent, but he recognized I was in pain. You know, he never took advantage, and like even we got married in Vegas.
Yes,
and that whole family just came.
Oh, is that right?
So we're at Excess. We're like David Guetta, and we're surrounded by 6, and like we brought our parents and our siblings. So like this giant 6 Samoans are like, who is that guy? Not about me, but actually Myra's dad. So like, he's got a big white beard. And he's got like this suit, and they're like, who's that?
It's the dude.
It's the dude. Yeah.
The dude. Ultimate. The dude.
It's the dude. Yeah. Sorry. Anyways, you're gonna talk about the Robert, Big Robert.
Yeah. So Big Robert. So so that's how it all started, and then started business. Starting in Vegas, during that time, you guys decided to. There was another individual that approached you during. Might be getting this a little confused, but another individual that approached you at that same time frame about doing business with you, and you were making a bunch of money with them, and then you ended up blowing it all. You're drinking, it was all in drugs.
Oh yeah, I remember something like that.
You were going back and forth. You want to talk about here?
Not really.
No, it was a bouncer.
Yeah.
This wasn't Robert.
Right.
There was another bouncer, and I think
Oh
he
God, no.
died?
Okay. No. So that wasn't Vegas. That was Montreal.
that was Montreal. Sorry,
That was
okay.
earlier on.
Oh, that was before. Okay.
So yeah, I discovered ecstasy in Vegas. But and then I would only do drugs in Vegas
yes. Yeah.
because I don't want anyone to know that I'm a degenerate in Ottawa. I'm like sitting on the board of directors for the Cancer Foundation, and I'm trying to be an entrepreneur and like top 40 guy. And like, it's just like, I don't want people to find out because I don't want to embarrass myself. So then I'm like, well, I can go to Montreal. And then I start going to Montreal, but like I needed to, I find a good source of good drugs. And through my network, I forget what is, I don't want to give his name, but his name in the book, I think is Tyrone.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
It's
Let's
been
just
a
say
while. I don't
Tyrone.
remember the name, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very big, scary dude.
The name
that
fit.
just
Yeah.
loved me.
I can't
And
remember Yeah.
easy to find out because it's all
Yeah.
in the media now. But he just loved me. I loved him, and we started doing loan sharking.
Yeah.
Didn't
together.
he pull you out of some trouble or something? You'd done something. He pulled you out of the fire or something.
That was Robert.
No, it was
Yeah,
Robert.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then
I was confused.
Although he would always be my private security, like hanging out with him and his thugs were just like, it was. I loved it. Loved every minute of it. Nobody would fuck with me. Everyone would be like, "How do you know him? Maybe you should not." I was like, "No, it's like my boy, right?"
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's just like taking my money.
This is your private security.
And then like literally, like I had breakfast with one of that group, and he went off and robbed a bank that morning. And like they all got, it was like a sledgehammer crew.
Oh yeah,
is
that's
what
what
they
it
were
was.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But had
They,
breakfast with
they
you.
robbed like 10 banks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he robbed the bank, then went and
He
had
dropped
breakfast
off
with you.
some drugs for me.
Yes.
And then went to and robbed a bank. A
robbed-
TD.
Casually.
Yeah.
A TD bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So they all went to jail. But one of that crew actually, and I describe him in the book, became a really close friend and got his shit together, and now we're actually pretty tight.
No way.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So
Very
served
good
his
friend, talk
time.
to him every day. Yeah.
No way.
Now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, getting his part in, like, he's just,
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So let's, I guess, put that in context. What year was that? That was
oh God.
quite a few years back now.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, it would have been 7 years ago, so not
7.
that bad. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was longer. So no.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Or 9 years. 9 years. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was right before I got married.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's going on in your life, and then you so casual.
Yeah. So that's going on.
It's, like I said at the beginning of the show, I mean, certainly an interesting life. You
The craziest.
Yeah.
I love it.
My God, I'm glad you've written books. I am. So during this time, you're starting to fall in love with your current wife, right? It was just after that you guys started dating.
Yeah, I mean, we were party friends,
Yeah.
you know, like, and like we literally were each other's enablers, and I really wasn't looking for anything. Like, I just like anything long term, or I wasn't looking into like, you know, the I love you type relationship. I was just like, she was super fun, and like, so yeah, we just liked each other's company, and like, so yeah, earlier on it really wasn't about that, but it obviously grew. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't take our relationship seriously, but I wasn't in any place to take, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go down that road again. And that's you know, that's why I just like cheated, and we were just like, it just wasn't a serious relationship. But when I did make the decision to get better.
Yeah.
And she was very much a part of that. Right. I'm on my way to Walden Pond, and that's when I go to Hamilton. That's when I show her the gentrified ground zero.
Right.
And I come back and be like, listen, like, let's just get better. And it was hard. It was really, really hard, especially the two of us, because we were such enablers. We both loved to party. And,
well, you talked about stage one for the two of you was, okay, she said to you, let's get through next weekend.
Yeah.
Literally, let's not do drugs.
Yeah.
Next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that was step one.
Yeah. It's literally the cliche, one day at a time. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Thursday comes around and all your friends are calling and what's up this weekend, and
You're
you're
like,
just like,
Do you remember what you did that weekend instead?
I painted.
Painted.
Yeah, I got really, really into painting.
Cool.
Just became an artist.
Wow. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that.
Occupy your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I painted the hundreds and hundreds of canvases, and I got deep into, again, like that's how my brain works. I read every book and watched every documentary and just learned how to paint. And
No way.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to see some. I haven't seen any of
I
your
have
art.
to see this.
You've seen some of my art.
Oh, you didn't tell me it was your art.
I did not.
No.
It's in the house. You've been there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll have to take
do you
note next
sell
time.
your art? What do you do with it?
I sold some pieces, but I kind of just put it away. It was for a time. My 5-year-old is becoming an artist. She actually just loves it. Like, I can't call her a princess. She's like, I'm not a princess. I'm a painter. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's so cute.
And she's like you see a crazy swimmer and crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she
yeah.
surfs and like she's like all these crazy things. But
I love it.
she just wants to paint. So like a part of our basement now is like it's just a studio.
Oh,
It's
wow.
just, so like get messy, do what you need to do, and like she's making all these spots and like it. So yeah, I think that was a major part of my life. And like when I asked her to marry me,
Yes.
she said, "You have to sell this fucking condo." Like the party
Right.
condo, like everyone knew what it was. Like Club 412, everyone would go there.
Yep.
It's like no more of this. And then we bought a house in the suburbs, and then that really started the day at a time. And like right, it's not linear growth, right? It's 2 steps forward, 5 steps back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
wild.
then you still go. You push the rock, and maybe there's 3 steps forward this time. And
Yeah.
no,
And what year was it you guys got married?
2015.
15.
Yep.
Wow. And the journey, the transition then for you from I mean, like Hamilton to then was a hell of a journey.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that we're leaving a lot of moments out in it that you talk about in the book, but I want this is my business brain talking. I want people to go and check out your book because it is a powerful one. But so then you get married, and then you think things are going to be different. You think that getting married is going to be that next step, and
He's like, oh.
then reality hits.
Yeah.
Like, and it hits
For
hard.
sure. It does.
So what happened after you get married? You're on cloud 9.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
we went to Vegas and got
Yep.
fucked up on our wedding. So like we definitely continued partying. It was less frequent, going out to that part of the city. You're just physically far, so not a lot of people are going there. We're not making the trek downtown anymore. We do the occasional Vegas trip or Montreal trip. We do still continue, but it's like less and less frequent. And and then we're still at the stage of trying to learn about nutrition, trying to learn about just healthy living and well-being. I'm in therapy, and like the business is going really well. Like we took on a CEO, like this, very famous venture capitalist who becomes a good friend and mentor, and like buys some shares earlier on that helped me with my tax problem. And he knew I was going through some shit. He's like, I got you. And he did.
Wow.
So I'm forever loyal to him. Just had lunch with him Saturday. And
Is he?
and
Sorry,
those
is he-
shares are worth a fuck lot now.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
He did okay.
Did he? Is that the the guy that called you for one-on-one to meet with you.
Yeah.
Tell that story. I absolutely love that because I was like, I want to meet this guy. I loved how you described meeting him.
Yes, like he literally was one of the most successful venture capitalists in history. And he's from Ottawa. And he went from venture capital side to, I'm just setting the context for who he is.
For sure. Yeah.
He took over a company called the Pythian, where he took 5 million to 150 million or something like that. And left that company and fought on Fight for the Cure, got to know my co-founder and came on as CEO. And like we had 3 co-founders and like none of us wanted the CEO job.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd hired, a good one. Yeah. And like I was struggling obviously. And he says like, let's go for dinner. And like, I hated him, right? Like he was like very arrogant, or he comes across as arrogant until you get to know him and understand him. Now I love the guy. And so like he takes me out and he's just like, you're fucking up. It's like, you know why we're here, like, and my co-founders have gone to him. He's like, Rob's just not effective at his job. And I know this, right? It's just hasn't been said out loud. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just like going through some shit, and he's like, are you in it to win it? Right? He says thing, and it's just like almost like, who is this fucking cheesy motherfucker?
Tony Robbins.
And he says it again. He's like, are you in it to win it? And I took him very seriously. I'm like, yeah. He's like, good. He's like, we have to get some victories under your belt. He's like, this is how we're going to do it. And so he's just like, and then, he sort of like really helped me. He brought in another mentor for me, a seasonal guy who was brilliant. I learned so much, and I was reinvigorated and found my place, and I created my team and became incredibly effective, and to I think help propel the product, the company and the product in the right direction. So with all of us, firing on all cylinders, with Andrew leading the way, like there's no stopping us, right?
What I liked about when you described him was when you said about in it to win it, and he said you need to get these victories, and you describe in your book what those little victories look like. You need to show up. Like I mean, this guy has essentially is going to the creator himself and saying, "Yeah, you are a fucking reject right now.
Yeah,
that used to be you. I'm in here now." And you need to just show up. That's win one. That's show up.
That's a big thing. Like 99% of life's problems can be solved by showing up.
And I love how the way it was described is that it was just showing that be present.
Yeah.
Like be present. Like
he led by example, like to his credit, like he even that like we had 3 founders. I know my partners were partiers in different ways, but they were partiers like crazy. Like he came in first and left last. We had these leadership meetings that they were for 3 or 4 hours first thing Monday morning. You better fucking be on point for these meetings. He knew that we're all partying.
Right.
That's
why he's doing it.
Yeah, for sure. He's just, you got to show up.
But that's so powerful. I think
leadership.
Leadership is, isn't the one that is just pulling the whip out and, hey, do this, do that, do this. And, the one thing that I didn't really think about when I was doing it with starting the clinic was that just arriving and talking to patients as an owner was valuable. People would comment about the fact that I was just showing up. I was there. And they were talking to me like that was abnormal. I didn't understand. I'm looking at people going, what are you talking about? But just that one little thing, showing up.
Well, as a leader, a CEO, like you have to care about every single little thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there's stories of the CEO of McLaren walks the lot every single day, looks at every single car, right? Like you have to show up. You have to care about and you have to have a right team, and you really have to show up for your team. Like I always feel that success in entrepreneurship and businesses is it's all about the people, obviously. And I think you find the right people, you set a goal, and then you get the fuck out of their way. Right. And like I'm a big believer in managers serve their team. Right. Like, and obviously showing up like is a part of that. You know, how can I make your job better?
Yeah.
Right.
How can I help?
Yeah.
What can I do? I know when you're the employee and you have someone in a management position that just shows up and says, how can I help? That goes a long way. It really does.
I had an interview today. I interviewed this new grad, hiring a programmer, and that's my wheelhouse. I've been pretty lucky that way in hiring, and hiring's fucking hard. And so we're having great conversation, definitely a culture fit, and doing all like and it's funny because I use ChatGPT to write the job rec, and then I use ChatGPT to create the interview questions based on the job rec, and gave it a whole bunch of context, told it to edit itself, and came back. I was very transparent with her because it will be dealing with some AI.
Wow.
And then I asked her a question, and she was totally caught off guard. I said, like, I know, like, we're not hiring for you to be here for the rest of your life. You know, what are your goals? And if you're going to be with me, you're going to help me achieve my goals. How can I help you achieve yours? And she was like, what? Like, she didn't know what to say. She's just like, I've never been asked that before. I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, like if you're going to be an entrepreneur, I can help with mentorship. You want to be like, you want to help grow a unicorn, we can help you with that. You're going to help learn more AI stuff, we're going to help with that. Like, it's how we've always operated. But like, I got emotional because she got emotional. She's like, I've never been asked that before.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is part 1 of our 2-part series. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow, share, like, tell everybody about us. Noble Conversations. Till next time.